Hi, I'm Drew. Welcome to the Beggars Woodshop. We continue in part 2 of our series with figuring out what to do with the leftover base of our Shopsmith Mark V. This is what came with the package, and now I've got to figure out what to do. Well, we finally have an answer for you. The Shorty, coming up right here on the Beggars Woodshop. Come on inside.
This program has been made possible by contributions from our viewers. Thank you.
When I acquired the Mark V and all of its accessories recently, I had to decide what to do with the main machine. I was using the tables, but I had to do other things. So I decided, you know what, I don't have the room, let's make it a shorty. Well, how big is a shorty? Well, according to the Shopsmith forums, there is no exact definition for a shorty. Yes, Shopsmith released the Mark IV. That's considered a shorty. Yes, Shopsmith had the Deputy. That's considered a shorty. Now I could do a Deputy. Just add the legs back instead of the wood base. I could do pretty much anything. You could do pretty much anything. It just needs to fit your needs. Well, looking at space, looking at what I wanted to do, I decided keep the carriage. And if that's the case, still have plenty of space to move, I'm going to want a Mark IV. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to grab my tools, get on the other side of the bench here, and we're going to disassemble the last of everything, since most of it's been disassembled in order to move it. Come on. The first thing I want to do is remove these set screws so I can remove this tie plate. After they're loosened enough, I take a rubber mallet and do a little hammering. If you don't have a rubber mallet, just take your regular hammer, but put a piece of wood in between here so you don't damage anything. Make sure they come off nice and easy. Whoop. And nice and even too. There we go. I can't just lift willy-nilly on those tubes. I've got to loosen a set screw located right here on the end opposite of the headstock. Then they should be able to come right out. One. Oh, just add a little more. Well, that's plenty loosened. There we go. 2. Now for the bench tubes. Now that I've got the whole thing flipped over, I take a 9/16 wrench and loosen. No. Now's the ideal time to clean everything, you know, brush it off, blow some air, little things like that. I won't bore you with a lot of that, but, well, maybe we'll talk waxing when it comes to the tubes, but after they're cut. Let me clean some of this other stuff out, and then we'll talk about that. So, I got a cut these. Bench tubes and weight tubes. But how much do I cut off? Well, go on to Shopsmith's website, and you'll actually find no answer. They do not sell, currently anyway, the tubes, and if they do, it's probably in the exploded parts, but they're not going to tell you how long they are. Well, I did a little research and came to a little simple math. I know that a Shopsmith Mark V, or current day Mark VII, is 71 inches long, just barely under officially 6 feet. And as for a Mark IV, well, how much space does that take up? 55 inches. Little simple math, and I'll come to the same answer that you probably just did. 16 inches. I gotta cut off 16 inches. Now, I'm gonna give fair warning. Don't cut the bench tubes and the weight tubes to the exact same size. You're gonna run into a lot of trouble. Your bench tubes have to be 3/4 of an inch longer than your basic weight tubes. You're still cutting off 16 inches, so let's keep it simple. Just don't cut them exactly the same in length. Alright. Time to make some marks. I put a piece of painter's tape roughly around the measured area. I'm going to remeasure and then apply a black line. To ensure I get that black line perfect the whole way around, I took the spacer that goes in between the headstock and the carriage on modern day Mark V's and Mark VII's. I'm going to use that to make sure I got a perfect circle all the way around. Now, measuring this out, removing 16 inches comes to a total 3 feet for the weight tubes and 3 feet and 3/4 of an inch for the bench tubes. If my math is perfect. In fact, since you're on camera with me, let's check. 52 inches long. Well, let's subtract 16. Well, 52 to 42, that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 36 inches. Let's do it. I've clamped it down in my vise, making sure there's padding in between the vise and the tube. That way, nothing gets marred, nothing gets bent, everything remains just fine. And I didn't clamp too tight, just firm enough to hold everything. Might have a little looseness to it, but I'll be careful. But before I go chopping and hacking, I want to talk about shop safety. Read the manuals that come with your power tools. The more you understand and follow those safety rules, the less likely you are to cause personal injury either to yourself or someone else. Hearing protection is a plus. You don't want to go deaf while you're still young. Of course, the greatest protection you can take, eye protection. You will be thankful the day these come in handy. Let's just hope it never does. Alright, I've got out my Sawzall with a metal cutting blade. Let's get started. That's one. 3 more to go. Well, went quick. One thing I also have to make sure of, after I get them all cut, I'm going to file the edges and also make sure they're nice and flush. I may use the sanding disc for that. On to number 2. Some mineral spirits, a little sanding, now a little paste wax. Reassembly is easy. It's just the reversal of everything. Put down a piece of cardboard so I can flip everything over nicely. I don't put everything together on the tubes because I need to be able to get my carriage and headstock back on. Now we apply the legs. Make sure you get the correct side, otherwise you're going to have to pull off either the whole leg or the casters. Easiest way to remember is that the pivot point is on your right. That's how you determine where the front will be. I'm using the carriage from the Greenie because I wanted to use the newer carriage on the older system. More on that later. I guess my tabletop needs some waxing. Badly. Nope. Alright, let's get our headstock on. Make sure you lock it. And put your headstock on. More on this method later. Well, I've still got some fine-tuning to do. Aligning the table, setting a few other things up. But ultimately, this thing is ready to go. Now, let me show you the project we're going to work on next time. I finally upgraded to the newer table saw system, and I'll show you how we swap the headstocks and alignment. And that's next time, right here, on the Beggars Woodshop.